Welcome to this episode of Sassy with Tessie. Today we're going to discuss creative ways to do intrusion exposure with the goal of enhancing the exposure with response prevention therapy in clients with OCD. Let's get started. Before we're going to dive into the creative ways to do intrusion exposures, first, let's do a quick rundown of what is OCD, what is ERP, and to kind of fresh up your memory. I suspect that if you are a therapist in training or you are already working as a therapist, this won't be new information, but sometimes it's good to fresh up memory, right? So let's see. OCD, as the name says, has two main components. The first one is the obsessions, also called intrusions. So in clients with OCD, we see that there is a heightened number of intrusions. And having an intrusive thought or image is a very normal thing to have. That's not something that only clients with OCD have. All humans have intrusions. But what happens in clients with OCD is that the meaning that has been given to these intrusions becomes a problem. So instead of seeing this as a normal brain phenomena, oh, it's just an intrusion, people feel really distressed by these intrusive thoughts and images and see them as reality holding. So it gives distress, people see them as the truth. So logically, if that distress is in your brain, you will come up with a way of dealing with that. And that can be a very conscious decision, or that all goes subconscious. And then we enter the second part of OCD, because the way people manage that heightened distress because of those intrusions is by doing compulsive behaviors. And compulsive behaviors are actually neutralizing behaviors. So someone experienced the intrusion or the intrusive image thought and start with the compulsions. Those compulsions can be visible, so we can observe them. An example is having things in a certain order, doing things a number of times, washing hands, putting away knives. Like, we can have all kind of outward compulsive behaviors, but it can also be completely cognitive. So, and cognitive compulsion is, for example, replaying in your brain the steps, like, okay, what did I just do? Or having a neutralizing sentence that people use whenever the intrusions come up. So in the basic, there's nothing very wrong with that. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense. It's a logic coping mechanism. However, the problems start because when people are actually engaging with these behaviors, it gives the message that indeed these intrusions are scary and truth-holding and that you need to take actions against them. So it reinforces this idea that intrusions are a distressing thing, a reality thing. And what we know is that instead of, in the short term, the intrusion, the distress might become less, but over time, we see that it becomes a very negative cycle, where the more intrusions someone has, the more compulsions, the more this idea that intrusions are indeed something that needs action. It gets stronger and stronger. People have more behaviors. And eventually that is often the point people come to therapy, because the compulsion in itself becomes so time-consuming and energy-consuming. What we do in exposure therapy, you can see it here in ERP, therapists came up kind of with a smart way of treat OCD. It focuses on both components. Exposure with response prevention. The exposure is focused on the intrusions. The response prevention is focused on minimizing and completely diminishing the compulsive behaviors. I think this is already a 50-year-old treatment or something. It is also very well, how do you say it? Researched. I don't know if that's like the right English way of saying it. But it's an evidence-based treatment, and it's also the first option for treatment in clients with OCD in most countries. So what we do with exposure is you're going to expose someone to the intrusions. And the goal of doing that is that firstly, people start to see their intrusions as intrusions. This can already be a great help that people start to realize, oh, this doesn't say anything about me, it's just an intrusion. Secondly, we see that over time, when people start to spend more time with the intrusions, that they become less scary or less distressing. And thirdly, I find this a very important one, is that there becomes more space between the self and the intrusions. Because when people come to therapy, often they have already struggled with these intrusions for months, years. And what has happened is that often when people give this meaning to intrusions that they are truth holding, it also starts to infect their sense of self. Like, oh, I am a horrible person. I should be in jail. I am a terrible human. I'm the worst mother, father on this planet. So it has detrimental effects on someone's concept of the self. And with intrusion exposure, literally exposing someone to the intrusions, we can create a bit of more distance between the self. We're going to focus today on creative ways to do this, so the intrusion exposures. However, the treatment of OCD consists of two components. So the exposure, and you have the response prevention. Response prevention means that you can come up with assignments to in slow steps build down the neutralizing behaviors, or you do it immediately. It depends also on how broad it is, on how the motivation of the client is. And the goal of response prevention is to not longer reinforce the intrusions, and secondly, to diminish the compulsive specific harm. Because we can often see that the compulsion in itself also become a problem. For example, if someone washes their hands repeatedly, the protective layer of the skin can be erased. If someone comes up with I'm not going to cuddle my kids anymore, then I can't contaminate them. Yeah, this has detrimental effects on their relationships and on attachment. So by diminishing those compulsions, it kind of hopefully rectifies some of those negative effects. And if you look at the image, you can see that both of the reinforcing parts will eventually go away. And instead, we can start to build an upward cycle by doing the intrusion exposures and the response prevention. So, okay, here you see a list of the creative ways of intrusion exposure that we're going to discuss. And the first one, I really like this assignment, and it's a drawing assignment. So you ask the client in between sessions, for next session, I want you to draw out your intrusions. And some people already have very vivid images, let them draw it out. And if people only have more of an intrusive thought, you can still ask them to put images or to attach images to the meaning of it and draw them out. Again, depending on where you are in the treatment, make sure that you also discuss possible response prevention. So this is an example of someone with harm OCD, like a client who has vivid images of harming their kid and their baby, and you can see it here drawn out. And this is a great way of exposing your clients to their images, but it also literally comes to stand on paper. It gets it out of the head, it becomes visual, and this can also help with the distance between the self and seeing this image. And another fun one is to ask them to draw out the intrusion theme. So most clients have some sort of overlying theme, so as harm or sinning, or you can come up with all kinds of themes. And this is actually a fun book that I'm going to show you. This is made by an American therapist who works with clients with OCD, and it is already a fill-in book where you see all these themes. So for example, this one says pedophile. We have one with, let me see, strangle, with hands and all kinds of images. Homicide, assault, murder, STD, incest, yeah, all kind of ones. So it could also be an idea to buy this book. There's also a second version with other themes, and there is one especially for kids. And I'm going to show you some examples. So this one is the one with the theme hell. So you put the word in the middle, and then clients can draw or paint or whatever they want, but you just want to get it in a creative way out of their head. Another one, this is one from uncertainty or like not right OCD. And below are some words that are often quite common in clients with OCD. So I would say this is like a great assignment to get more creative. Let's go to the second one. The second one is to use screensavers. So by now in this digital age, I assume that 99% of the clients that you will see have either a phone or a laptop. And the exercise is that you want to put the intrusions on their screensaver. It can be on a phone or a laptop. I often do this with clients with their phone, and do it in the session if it is possible. So I type out the intrusions often on the screen of my laptop, and clients can take a photo. And if you work online, people can do it themselves and take a photo of that. And then it starts to look something like this. So like, this doesn't feel right, push her, they will die, all these intrusive thoughts. And what I think is really good about this assignment, because it is creative, but also we know that exposure works best when it is done in as many as possible different environments, times, days, to generalize the effect. And this really helps it, because a client often takes their phone, a lot of the times. And as a therapist, you might think, or clients might think that, okay, but what if other people see this? But most of the clients were okay with these exercises because the people most close to them already know this. And otherwise, you can, for example, also put it on a laptop, or you can make it assignment for only on a certain day of the weekend. But just get the practice in. And this has helped some of my clients really to come back like after a couple of weeks, and they're like, I'm so bored of reading this. That's actually what you want to achieve, right? So that's the second one. The third one is to hang out post-it notes. And especially if you work face-to-face with clients, this can be a really helpful way of getting the practice a bit more playful and to increase the exposures within the session. So you write down the intrusions on these post-it notes. And what you can do is hang them behind yourself throughout the session. So you hang them out before the client comes, and they will see their intrusions often. If you work online, you can also do it by typing in the intrusions on random moments in the chat function. And the exercise is to let clients put the post-it notes all throughout their house. So by the sink, at the toilet, by their bed. You can kind of come up with all kind of ways, and it is the same. It is a creative way. They're gonna see it a lot. And here are some examples so that you can get a bit of an idea of how this will look. So let's go to the fourth one. The fourth one is to use artificial intelligence. A quick disclaimer up front is I think that we are still in the very early stages of AI development, and that we can't really fathom how this will look in 3 to 5 years, for example, and how we can benefit from it in therapy. But one of the ways is like, now you have all these kind of AI machines where you can write in what you want to visualize, and they come up with the visual. This has the potential of being great for clients with OCD to kind of make what they have in their mind visual. I tried it out, but with Canva app, but with certain things that I typed in, I got like the, how do you call it? The this doesn't meet our policies warning. And in hindsight, it made me laugh because I was like, oh yeah, makes sense, because I typed in, what did I type in? Oh yeah, like create hell with a lot of burning elements where a person is standing with where a person in the middle is standing with the text, "This is my fault." So yeah, in hindsight, I was like, okay, I understand it. They probably don't understand that I'm doing this for exposure treatment. But some of them work. So this is, for example, if you check with clients, check if the stove turned off and they see these vivid images of the stove setting fire, like it looks like this. So that can already come quite close, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if, like with all our brilliant fellow mental health workers in the field, that one of them might come up in combination with an IT person to create an app specifically to do this with different kind of policies, because the program is designed for clients with OCD. But this is something, if you suspect that it will meet the policies, use it. It's a creative way, and yeah, I think it's a fun development within our field. The last exercise that I'm going to show you is the weird voices exercise, and I borrowed that from acceptance and commitment therapy, and there it is exercise that is mostly used in the segment of diffusion, and I think it's very good applicable for all kind of exposures exercises. So the exercise is, we are going to say the word or sentence. I often pick a word that is like on the core for the client's OCD, and you're gonna say it at a high speed. So for 1 minute, we're gonna say this word together, and you're gonna say it as fast as possible, and I will take the lead. I'm also gonna say it in higher or lower notes, or if you take the lead, I will follow you. We can sing, we can rap, we can say it very slow, all kinds of ways, and we're gonna do it for the minimum of a minute. Are you ready? Let's go. So for this client, I'm gonna take the word sinner, and yeah, let's show it. So we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1. Sinner, 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 sinner. Sinner, 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 and stop. And after the exercise, you can do it another time and eventually ask the client, like, how does it feel? How did it make them feel? And you can also say, I want you to do this several times a day for the next week. And this is like a creative way to bring a bit of playfulness within ERP. And one of the reasons I am convinced that these exercises are especially important to bring into ERP treatment is that we know from research, from our own experience with clients, is that often we see that clients with OCD also score high on perfectionism, on control issues, and that is often the complete opposite of playfulness and bring some kind of flexibility and fun into treatment. So I think it is by offering these kind of exercises within the treatment, it is already a bit of a corrective experience. And that's what we want, right? Okay, let's talk about some obstacles that you might encounter when you want to do ERP in a more creative or playful way. The first one is that you will encounter that clients say that these exercises are stupid or ridiculous, and you feel like there is a lot of, what's the English word? I will put it in later. That is a great opportunity for you. So if that happens, that's fine and it's great because you will use it. How I do this is by saying, yes, I get it. These exercises might feel a bit ridiculous. You're like, what are we doing? And that's great if you can practice with that skill of viewing. If you can view your exercises like this, that is exactly the attitude we want to train towards your intrusions. That you also are going to see your intrusions as ridiculous, as stupid, as weird. So use that attitude and also use it towards yourself. A second one is that clients that you might feel as if clients think you make fun of them or that you don't take their suffering serious in any way. Clients often don't say that, but if you feel anything like that, or maybe you want to give that information up front, is that you can say, I know these exercises can be a bit strange or feel a bit uncomfortable. What I want you to know is that I take you very serious. I take your suffering very serious, but I don't take your intrusions serious at all. I don't believe them. I think they are ridiculous, stupid. I don't engage with them. They don't matter. I take you serious. I take the suffering that they give to you serious, but I don't take their content serious in any way. And that's also with all these kind of exercises, you kind of train that attitude towards your intrusions as well. Now you are seeing them as very truth-holding and they are scary to you. And maybe these exercises by their own nature can help you to see them for what they are. They are intrusions. They say nothing about you. You don't have to take them serious. And I won't take them serious in this treatment. That often helps the clients a lot to understand also that attitude change you want to achieve with therapy towards the intrusions. And the last obstacle you might encounter is that you experience embarrassment, that you're like, oh, but I feel ashamed to do this. I feel embarrassment. And that's okay. I don't think that's a good enough reason to not do these exercises. Of course, it's important that as therapists, we also feel comfortable with what we are doing. At the same time, I think that doing exposures yourself, doing shame-inducing exposures yourself is a great way of building your own shame tolerance, of understanding what you ask your clients, and also to connect with your own playful side and bring that a bit more into therapy. Because like being a therapist by its own nature can also be, you hear a lot of serious stories. It is serious, and adopting a bit of a creative and playful way with your job can also be kind of a regulating activity once you get in over the first couple of embarrassing times. And I do it like this because it isn't embarrassing. And what we often see is that if you bring something very normal to a client experiences it as normal as well. So I hope you're absolutely gonna do these kind of exercises more to make it more fun for you, but also for the client. So yeah, that was what I wanted to discuss with yourself. Here you can see the 5 ways of making creative intrusion more creative ways to do this. And I would say, let's go. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you soon on here or on another channel. Bye!